Hello, BookTube. I'm going to continue on with the fourth bookcase, the big full wall bookcase, which we're doing the top. It's primarily art, architecture, that sort of thing. This is the fifth video in that series, so let's get started. I'm going to start with the title, Disarmed, the story of the Venus de Milo by Gregory Curtis. This is a Alfred A. Knopf, New York, 2003. This is a first American edition. The Venus de Milo is both a great work of art and a popular icon, and from the moment of her discovery in 1820 by a French naval ensign, she's been an object of controversy. In Disarmed, Gregory Curtis gives the life of this magnificent representation of life. So as it would have to be, let's see here if I can give you some images. Here's a reconstruction of the Venus de Milo. So this book goes into the politics, story of empire, all the things that went into making the Venus de Milo the Venus de Milo. It was an interesting time in the world when it was found. You had all these European empires scrambling for prestige and all that. And of course, it's still an international icon. There's the author. He's not an international icon, the statue is. So, good story. And then the next group of books we're going to do are all by the same author, the art critic and historian Robert Hughes, who I was a big fan of. I started reading him. I picked up a volume without knowing much about him. I didn't read until much later his regular criticism. But I had heard of The Fatal Shore, which I do not have, his story about Australia. But I do have, this is the book, Barcelona. This is the book where I first really got into his stuff. It's Alfred A. Knopf, New York, 1992. This is a first edition. So one of those rare books that I've actually lent out several times that I keep getting back, and it's usually to people on their way to Barcelona. And I enthuse about it. They end up reading it, and they go to Barcelona, and I don't. But I just feel like he was a master of writing of the language. So Barcelona was already a great city with a Mediterranean empire when Madrid was a dry little village on the road to nowhere, or so Catalans would have you believe. And an extraordinary overlay of peoples and cultures, attitudes, hopes, fantasies, and illusions has been successfully imposed upon it. Hughes' narrative recounts the overlapping stories of Iberians, Visigoths, Muslims, Jews, and Christians, of monks and ruthless knights, mystics and hard-fisted merchants, anarchists and monarchists, tricksters and artists. Hughes' masterful work is keyed to the very stones of Barcelona, especially the central excitement of its surviving Gothic architecture, a complete medieval city enclosed in an enormous 19th century grid of avenues, blocks, and housing that also frames Europe's most remarkable Art Nouveau palaces, apartments, and offices. It is a richly dramatic account for Catalonia's unique culture developed in many surprising and contentious ways, not only in its architecture, but in its poetry, its fine and decorative arts, its traditional crafts and métiers of land and sea. And underlying it all is a fantastic civic history. Hughes brilliantly evokes the ecclesiastical energies, the premier industrial and banking efforts, the intensely nationalistic and modernist pride, the vital talents that have made Barcelona special for 15 centuries. So, great, okay. Highly recommend it. Great book. So then, on the same vein, put that over there, and much later, written much later, he did a similar treatment of Rome. And this one is Rome, A Cultural, Visual, and Personal History, Robert Hughes. Alfred A. Knopf, New York, 2011. This is a first edition. Again, beautifully illustrated. Of course, a city with a huge history. This one's not quite up to the, I mean, the writing's Robert Hughes. I mean, it's great writing, but it's not quite, I wouldn't recommend it quite as highly as I do Barcelona. I'd recommend it, but not as high as I would Barcelona. I think in Barcelona he just did something special, but Rome, that's it. It's a good book. So then, here we have Robert Hughes' Goya. See if they have a picture of him. Yeah, let's get a picture of him in there. There he is. Robert Hughes was born in Australia in 1938. Since 1970, he has lived and worked in the United States, where until 2001 he was the chief art critic for Time, to which he still contributes. His book include The Shock of the New, The Fatal Shore, Nothing If Not Critical, Barcelona, The Culture of Complaint, and American Visions. We have American Visions coming up in the later part of the shelf tour. He's passed away since this. He was involved in a terrible car accident in Australia years ago, and eventually we got him. So here's the title page. Alfred A. Knopf, New York, 2004. This is the third printing of 2004. And it's actually copyright from 2003. So, this is a beautifully produced book, heavily illustrated, and it's his story of Goya. And again, his writing really, it's already a fascinating story, but again, it's his ability to write. And then finally, this is some of his essays on art and artists, Nothing If Not Critical. These are short pieces. There he is right there. Let me just get you some of that. Nothing If Not Critical, Selected Essays on Art and Artists, Robert Hughes, Alfred A. Knopf, New York, 1990. Again in first edition. From Holbein to Hockney, from Norman Rockwell to Pablo Picasso, from 16th century Rome to 1980s Soho, Robert Hughes looks with love, loathing, warmth, and wit and authority at a wide range of art and artists, good, bad, past, and present. So, if he doesn't like you, he'll let you have it. So, that's Robert Hughes. And that is the fifth video on the fourth bookcase, the top shelf that runs along the whole wall, which is mostly, like I said, art and architecture. Thank you, BookTube.